Goodwin Race Team back at it with another video for you guys. So we are back on Jarrett's 2008 Silverado.
Did you get that on video?
What?
I'm busting ass.
Oh, he busted ass? I don't know if I did. I'll have to review the footage. That will be funny if he busted ass on camera.
Fuck you.
Anyway, we've got to do the oil pan on this thing today. Then we've got to fill up the oil, fill up the trans fluid, top off the coolant. And I believe that is pretty much it for today. Then he will go get a tune here soon. He's got a oil pressure gauge as well as a trans temp gauge coming in as well. So we'll do all that once that comes in. Other than that, we got to get this thing jacked up. Oh yeah, and we still have to get that serpentine belt today before we actually start her up and everything. So other than that, we are getting on getting this thing jacked up this morning. So we will get this thing jacked up and start looking at pulling the cross member under the oil pan. That way we can get this oil pan pulled and get the new gasket on there. We'll get back at you. All right, so we've got two 15mm bolts in the bottom of the transmission that go into this. We've got to pull as well as 10mm bolts that line all the way around the oil pan. We've also got to go ahead and drain this oil. That way it's all out of our way, as well as pull this oil filter. And then we can start taking the 15mm bolts out as well as the 10mm bolts. But we've also got to pull this cross member, which I still have to look. I think probably a 17 or an 18 for the cross member bolts. And we got to get that pulled out, and then we can slide this oil pan out and should be able to pull it down and then slide it out this way, and hopefully it'll drop out pretty easy. And then swap out that gasket, put it back in there, slap all those 10mm bolts back in, and the 215 on the bottom of the transmission, get the new oil filter on there, cross member back up, oil plug back in, and go back to the belt, get all that hooked up, fill up the transmission, and go from there.
I'm gonna clean that cross member too.
Oh yeah, you go make that one look like that one? Brand new. All right, let's get at it. All right, so a little update. Got the cross member out, got the drain plug for the oil pulled, and it is just dripping at the moment. Then I'm waiting for that to just kind of calm down a little bit. Then I will pull the oil filter, and then we can start dropping this oil pan. I'll probably start breaking the bolts loose here in a second. That way we can go ahead and drop that as soon as I pull the oil filter. Other than that, he is over here getting this cleaned up. So, trying to make it look a little bit better, but getting there. A little beat up, but
I'll talk to you in a little
Shit
bit.
dirty.
wow. So it's supposed to be silver. Wow. Yeah, really getting this thing cleaned up. Jesus. But that's where we are at. All right. So got most of these bolts out for the oil pan. And there's one bolt over here for this starter cover that attaches to the oil pan. You got to pull. It's a 10mm. All these are 10mm. The cross member bolts were 19mm. So we are about to pop this oil filter off and finish pulling this oil pan, swap out the gasket, and get it back in here. All right, so little update. Got all the oil pan and everything loose, but to actually clear it, to pull the whole oil pan out, we have to pull these steering rack bolts. There's one right here in this hole, and there's two right there. Sorry about that. Should be able to loosen those bolts, get those out, and should be able to just drop that steering rack a little bit, and should be able to work out this oil pan. You do have a oil sump tube that drops all the way to the back of the oil pan right around here, so you do have to be cautious of that as you're pulling it down and out to not hit that and break it or bend it. So anyways, we'll get at it and get this oil pan out. All right, so the bolt inside that hole is a 19 millimeter and then a 15/16 for these two, and we will get this thing dropped out. All right, so we've got that one out, got both of those out, but we've got one more hiding up here. Get that one out and we should be able to pull this. All right, so got that last 19 millimeter out and got this oil pan gasket out. You just got to kind of tilt it and slowly kind of pull it out. You got to be careful of that oil sump that drops down in there. But we're gonna get this one cleaned up, get the block cleaned up a little bit, and then install our new BTR oil pan gasket, get it all put on there, set up in there, start tightening it down, and get everything put back together. And then start filling this thing up. Hopefully that serpentine belt should be here soon, and we can go pick that up, put that on, finish filling up the transmission fluid, and start making sure everything's good. Almost there. All right, so now we have got everything back together. We've got the cross member back in, we've got the rack and pinion all tightened back up, got the oil pan back in and all the bolts for that tightened back up, got the bolt in there for the plastic cover piece for the starter, got a new filter on here, and everything should be tightened back down. So now we're just waiting on our buddy to get back with a new oil drain plug for this thing. That way we can install that. Then hopefully he'll have the serpentine belt too. We can throw that on, then fill up the oil, top off the coolant, fill up the trans, and this thing should be good to go. We just got to run through the transmission fill process by filling it and then starting it, letting it kind of flow through the trans cooler and everything, fill everything back up, and then slowly run it through the gears until it starts catching, and then fill it up slowly until the vehicle is warm, because that's technically where you're supposed to check it. That way it gives an accurate reading. So we will be doing that after we've gotten all the serpentine belt and everything else back together. But we are almost there. All right, so now we've got everything primed, got transmission fluid in it, got coolant topped off, got engine oil in it, got the oil pan bolt installed on this, got the serpentine belt all installed back on it, AC belts back on it. Everything should be hooked back up, and also made a custom bracket for the transmission dipstick, which we've got to figure out and find a nut for that, but that's pretty much done too. So right now we are about to start it and prime this transmission and make sure she's all ready. Fire her up. Also check the fluid and fill it up to the appropriate temp, or to the appropriate level. And he's just double checking for any leaks. We just did the oil pan, all that's all finished, so everything should be good on it, but we're just double checking everything. All right, so we are 99% of the way done. Still have to get a nut for the bracket for the transmission dipstick, but we still have a slight oil leak coming from the back of the motor. We just swapped out the oil pan gasket, so the only other thing that we can really think of is a rear main seal. The block was machined and everything, so if it's not the rear main seal, the only other thing that we can really think of is a machine issue, which everything looked good when we pulled the oil pan gasket off, so we wouldn't really think it would be a machine shop issue, but it possibly could be. Not 100% sure, but probably gonna pick up tomorrow and pull the transmission again, and then figure out on starting it and trying to figure out exactly where it's coming from. But that's kind of where we're at with everything. So other than that, we're 98% of the way done. Just have to figure out this last part on this oil leak, get that mounted up on the firewall, as well as get a tune for it. So we're almost there, but just a little few things we're trying to tie up, and they should have some black wrap for the wiring coming in here soon. That way we can go through and redo all the wiring in here to make it actually presentable. But that is pretty much it for this video. I think that's where we're going to leave off. So if you like this video, please continue to subscribe and continue to watch and see what all crazy shit we're gonna come up with next.
Be a trans and rear end on it too.
Yeah, soon enough, trans and rear end, but we'll get there.
Piece of shit.
All right, so after doing some research and calling my mechanic, he even thought it was the main seal, the rear main seal at first too. After doing some research and looking at some reviews on some of the rear main seals and whatnot, trying to figure out which one we were going to get, I happened to be on Advanced Auto Parts, and I happened to be looking through some photos, and we put every nut and bolt that we pulled off back on. But when we were putting everything back together, I noticed that there weren't any bolts on the rear side of the oil pan, which I found a little odd, and there were two that were missing, come to find out. But after doing some research and going through the reviews, I found a photo of a dude who took a picture after he replaced it, and he was starting to put his oil pan back together. And as he had those bolts down, he had one bolt started going in on one side, and it's a really long bolt, so it's really hard to miss. And I saw that, and I was like, no freaking way. Like, that's gotta be what the oil leak is, because it's not too major, but it's major enough that you don't want to daily drive it. And we put a brand new oil pan gasket on it, so it's like, it can only be so many things. Anyway, so noticed that we were missing those bolts. I sent that picture to my mechanic, and I was like, hey, like, pretty sure I found out what it was. These weren't in there when we swapped out the oil pan gasket. Like, we pulled the oil pan without pulling those bolts because they weren't there. So we got some ARP ones ordered through O'Reilly's. They should be here tomorrow. So hopefully around, on the website it said 1:30, they said 3:30, so hopefully it'll be around 1:30. We can get those and get all that installed and run it, make sure that there's no more oil leaks, hope and pray that that is the last of it. Otherwise we will have to pull the transmission, pull the torque converter, pull the flywheel, and go from there on replacing that rear main seal. But anyways, just wanted to update y'all on that because we kind of figured out what it might be. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will fix the problem. It should, because it's obviously not compressing the seal on that side, at least not all the way, so that would make it leak. It's a brand new motor, been machined, it's been built, so shouldn't have missed that. But it is what it is. So hopefully tomorrow we will get all that finished up, and then after that it's pretty much just waiting on a tune. We still have to build a passenger seat mount bracket for the seat mount, so we still have to do some measurements on that, get some more flat, and start getting that built as well. So hopefully we can get that built here soon. That way that's out of the way and that's all squared away, and both those seats are actually mounted in there. we've got the driver's seat mounted fully, so that's out of the way. Now we just have to do the passenger side. He's talking about doing two-step here soon, so we'll see about that. He does have a oil pressure gauge coming in. It's a split gauge, I believe, with the transmission fluid, or not fluid, but transmission temp, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% on that, so don't hold me to that. But he does have that coming in here soon, so I believe we're going to do that. But other than that, that is pretty much going to be where we're at until we get it tuned. Then we will probably take it to the track, see what it can do, and go from there. Get some good footage for you guys. I'm sure he'll be hitting me up. That way we can do some good, make some good content, do some good videos for you guys. But anyways, we're almost there. We're 98% of the way there. Just the little things that we're fine-tuning it before we go and get it tuned. That way we make sure it's 100%. So other than that, that's gonna end it for this video. So appreciate all y'all's support. I really do. Please subscribe for more videos. I love doing this for you guys. I love being able to help other people out as well. So if y'all could please subscribe, help me out, help build this channel and help grow this channel. That way we can bring more appeasing content to you guys and doing more fun things as far as supercharging vehicles and stuff like that. I still have a bunch of stuff that I want to do to the charger, but I need y'all to support the channel. Please. It is slowly growing. I started this channel with 0 subscribers and slowly built it up to what it is today. So please, y'all, help me out. I want to make this a big channel, and I mean, this is just the beginning. So thank everybody for everyone's support that y'all have shown so far. I've gotten videos that have over 2,000, 10,000 views, and they're continuing to grow, and I really appreciate y'all's support. And until the next one.